This is an official legal disclaimer. The content on Awaken Wellness is for informational and educational purposes only. It is not intended to be substituted for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Nothing shared on this show should be taken as personal medical advice. Always consult your physician or qualified healthcare provider before making changes to your medications, supplements, or treatment plan. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay seeking it based on something you heard on this podcast. Welcome back to Awaken Wellness TV. Today we're talking about something that almost none of you have been tested for, but almost all of you have felt the effects. It is called HPA axis dysfunction. That is your hypothalamic, pituitary, and adrenal axis, your body's central stress command system. So if you've ever felt tired, if you've ever felt wired, day or night, confused like a little kid, your brain and your body signals are discombobulated, like your different glands, your communicating systems are like not all speaking the same language. Like somebody's speaking French, somebody's speaking German, and somebody else is speaking Spanish. And the signals are going out, but the communication is not working. If you've been to the doctor and told your labs were normal, that everything was fine, but you go home feeling awful and defeated, this is a show for you. I'm Tanya Candy, registered nurse and health coach. I too am a recovering sick person. I spent the majority of my adult life on a prescription, doing everything my doctor told me to do, and getting sicker and sicker. In 2019, I walked away from traditional sick care system. After realizing that the root cause of my autoimmune disease and my chronic pain wasn't a missing prescription, it was me. And I had the power to make a change. Now here's what I want you to know. I'm not anti-doctor, but I am pro-choice. I want you to know that you have options that your doctor probably didn't mention. And you have every right to ask better questions. On Awaken Wellness, I dig into your root causes of why you're still struggling and what you might actually do about it. No fluff, no overwhelm, no pill for every ill, just real common sense, root cause conversations, and a tough, love yet compassionate way. By the time we're done, you'll be awakened. Now, let's get into it. So the conversation, of course, is rooted in stress. Stress, stress, stress. The thing that everybody has, everybody deals with, and nobody really seems to have that magical answer for it. This one, there's definitely no magical pill. Now, of course, genetically speaking, we're all kind of wired to deal with stress a little bit different. Some people, emotional stress is their biggest stress to their body. You'll carry your emotions inside your body. That emotional stress can lead to sickness and disease. Stress can be physical stress. If you're working out, if you're training, that is a healthy stress, but it also has to be paired with rest. It has to be paired with building blocks and amino acids and protein to restore those bodies. So in life, there's always stress. We can't run away from that stress. Today, the subject is the HPA axis and how we may test or assessed for this dysfunction. As always, proposing better questions to ask of your provider, whoever it is that you are in their care. A lot of people use tools like these little rings. Mine is from Reebok. Different rings, different ways to take your metrics, your HRV, those kind of things. That's all that stress system. Now, when I work with people one on one or even in groups, I haven't found anybody yet that was completely unaffected by stress. Some people are much more aware that their stress is affecting their health, and other people are, they think they're okay, right? But it's still always a root cause. It's still part of the picture. We can run, but we can't hide. But the tools, like what are we going to do about it right now? If you're on social media, you're probably seeing a lot of gadgets, like a pulsetto, that are vagal nerve stimulators. That is very trendy right now. So that is working on the HPA axis, what we're talking about today. Number one, we want to say out loud, myself included. I have to always give myself that positive reinforcement, that positive feedback, reminding myself that I am not broken, my body's not broken, I'm not being lazy, and I'm not making it up, right? When we have symptoms, what are some symptoms that chronic stress? It can be GI discomfort. It can be manifested in your mental health, in depression and anxiety. It can manifest in even heartburn and things like that. Resistant weight is a big one. Um, Fat that doesn't want to release because your body is not in feeling safe. That's a big thing. Your body, when it's stuck in fight or flight, when it doesn't feel safe at the base, like the root, if your nervous system feels like you're constantly on the run, running from that bear, running from that stress, it will not allow you to release fat. You have to be in a very regulated, comfortable place before that starts happening for most people. For most people, of course, there's always different case scenarios. Everybody's individual, everybody's a little bit different, but for the majority, especially for females that I find coming through my door, this is a very real part of what foundationally needs to be worked on, or needs to start feeling resolved. Um, let's see. Fight or flight. I'm sure you've heard of that autonomic, the fight or flight, those different parts of your nervous system. Your rest and digest, where your body switches from that run from the bear to, we can rest now, we can digest. If you are constantly in fight or flight, your digestion is suffering, whether you realize it or not. If you're not truly rested in your nervous system, that digestion is subpar for sure. Your body is very much self-protective. It's always in self-preservation mode. It is what my pet peeve, the definition of autoimmune disease is just one of my pet peeves. That definition says your body is attacking itself. And I always say that it's not true. Your body is desperately trying to protect itself from something that should not be in it, whether it's a stressor, whether it's a toxin, whether it is a microorganism that is inside the body. The body is always trying to protect itself and is only a product of the environment in which we expose it to. So our thoughts, what we eat, what we breathe, injuries, traumas, all of that. Our body is a outpouring of the environment that is exposed to. So those are some pretty deep thoughts. If those are new to your ears, go ahead and get in the comments wherever you're watching. Um, get me on the phone. Let's have a conversation about this, right? One-on-one. These are big subjects, big topics that we want to talk about. But we always want to assume our body is doing the best for us, the best that it can. Sometimes it's true. We feel like our body is betraying us, but there's a disconnect. We really need to just even get out a pen and a paper and start journaling what the exposures are, what kind of food are we feeding the body, what kind of water are we drinking, what kind of air are we breathing, what kind of emotional and physical stressors are we asking the body to endure on a day-to-day basis? So the real root causes, kind of the tough part of the conversation, is the real root causes to our health when we become well, or to our issues. It is us. It's our behavior. It's our daily fuel sources. It's our daily mindset work. That's where the real locus of control comes in, and when we can start taking back control of our health. All right, we're going to go back to that HPA axis. I got a little sidetracked in the big picture, right? So today we're isolating that HPA axis. Again, what does this look like in your body when this communication pathway is jumbled up, when your information highway is speaking different languages? I think one of the biggest factor, and one of the ones that we're all the most concerned about, is stubborn weight. Not because just of vanity and the clothes aren't fitting anymore, but because we know that every extra pound is extra stress on our body, on every system. And we know that a healthy body finds a healthy weight. And weight gain, weight loss, either way, is a signal. It's your body trying to communicate a problem, somewhere that it needs support, somewhere that it needs help. So, what is that stress like? Is that one of your root causes? Is that something that you probably realize, but what do you do about it, right? Sleep is another one. Really big signal that your HPA axis is working against you. Especially that pattern where you have a hard time falling asleep at night, or if you do get asleep, you get that 3 o'clock in the morning wake up, right? That can be tied to a lot of things. But this HPA axis is one of the bigger triggers, is kind of one of the first things that you can start to implement some changes and see if your sleep gets better. This surprises people, but also belly fat. Belly fat isn't just belly fat. That cortisol, that over HPA axis in that overwork stage, making too much cortisol, is significantly tied into visceral fat. So that fat that's around your organs tends to be a little bit more dangerous than the fat that's under your flabby arms or the fat that's between your thighs, right? That the organs, when they're covered in that unhealthy visceral fat, it is weighing on your health. That's very true. So that's something that we want to talk about. Um, I looked up a few peer-reviewed studies for you, just so we bring in some facts. Um, Research published by the Journal of Obesity and reviewed in PMCP MC have linked elevated cortisol production and elevated cortisol production and blunted or disturbed cortisol rhythm to increased visceral fat. That that dirty fat that we were just talking about earlier. It is very much studied. It is very much promoted to be detrimental, so to speak. It's definitely taking life off your ears. It's not just about your pants not fitting, right? Back to a healthy body finds a healthy weight. Cortisol promotes fat storage around the abdominal organs due to a higher glucoid receptor density in that fat tissue. The source studies, let's see, I'll put that in the show notes. We don't need to read through all that. But it is not just my imagination. It is not just your imagination. That HPA access. So there are different ways that we can test for this. If you see a functional provider, it's going to look a little bit different than your allopathic provider. From a functional perspective, if we do a bioenergetic test, I've got a scanner called a HeartQuest. It's just quick. It takes 5 minutes. We are just looking from an energetic perspective, so we can just get a good picture of where your cortisol's at, where your hormones are at, where your mitochondrial health is at, and where your HRV is. So we're also looking at your different systems, your rest and digest, your run from the bear, and then your system just automatic that you don't have to think about. So when we look at that, it takes into the big picture. It takes into your train. It takes into hydration and all of those things. So what your body needs building blocks to deal with the stressors, right? And then when we think about healing, the cells, the mitochondria need to be fueled. The cell integrity needs to have support. Like all those things are part of the big picture. If we do a saliva test, there's saliva kits and you measure throughout the day your cortisol levels. So what that normal level should look like is it kind of comes up in the morning, a couple of hours, peaks, and then gradually starts coming down nice throughout the day towards bedtime. That's what we'd like to see happen. That's what quote unquote normal would look like, right? Another way I like to think about this, like in just simple explanatory terms, is think of your body like a car, right? Or like an engine. When you're young and you're healthy, hit the gas and you just power through. There's fuel in your tank. You go. It doesn't matter, what the job requires, what the kids require, what the husband needs, all of that. You just power through. You put it on the list and you take care of it. You can have a couple of drinks in the evening. You can go out to dinner and party a little bit with your friends, and you recover well in the morning. You get back on your routine during the week and things just work, right? That's a perfect world. That's those really fun 20s, right? But as life continues and you're keeping up this pace and you're busy, 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 you may even have scheduled in a 2-week island vacation, right? But that 2-week vacation doesn't make up for what you're asking your body to do on the day to day. Does it help? Sure. Is it amazing? Yes. I mean, do it. Do it. by all means. What I'm saying is when you're consistently running on adrenals, right? Running on stress hormones, just like any other muscle, that becomes fatigued. That's kind of a key word we hear thrown around these days is adrenal fatigue. What does that mean? What does that look like? For me, what that looks like is now you're in your 40s, you're in your 50s, and you are expecting your body to do the same thing that it did for you in your 20s and in your 30s. So you just keep going because that's your expectation. But now you go to push on the gas and just power through your schedule and everything else you want to do, and your body goes clunk, clunk. Like there's no gas in the gas tank. That is how I, like on that kindergarten level, describe adrenal fatigue. What you're asking your body to do, it's just not got the right support to keep up that level that it did in those previous years. Now, I do see people earlier and earlier in life that are feeling they're 30 and they're feeling like they're 50, or they're 20 and they're feeling like they're 40. And my HQP scan gives a biological age versus your actual age. And people really get down in the lip when they're in their 20s and my energetic scan puts them in their 40s. And I'll say, okay, do you feel 40? And they're, yeah, they usually do. There's, they're not surprised. They don't like to see it like right there in front of them on the computer screen. But that's why they're sitting with me, because they're in their 20s and they feel 40. Now, I also have many 40-year-olds and 50-year-olds that come in and their energetic scan looks a lot less, but yet it still tells me they're extremely stressed. So it's like, okay, you're holding your own, but let's start supporting the systems. Let's start putting some things in play here before you really hit that brick wall, right? And from day to day, we have good days, we have bad days, and we know that rest and sleep, sunlight, movement, all those things matter, but they tend to be at the way end of the schedule. They're not what we're prioritizing first. They're what we're expecting to plug in if there's leftover time somewhere in the day. So that's on us to change those priorities. That later in life, that HPA access, that dysfunction, when everything feels like it's failing, it can be such an emotional toll. You feel somewhat depressed, you feel somewhat defeated. Um, you have self-doubt, right? You feel like you're not keeping up with the younger people at work, or you're not keeping up with the younger moms, or this or that or the other thing, or even the grandma stage. You see somebody who's got all this time and energy to spend with their grandkids, and you're just barely getting by, right? So there is help, there is hope for every person, no matter where they're at. So we talked a little bit about how we test, like the saliva, bioenergetically, and a lot of talking and just assessing and getting really in tune with your symptoms. When do you feel this way? Or what times do you feel better? What foods make you feel energized? What foods are sucking the energy from you? So there's so many little connect the dots, but we have to slow down in order to connect those dots. We can't just continue on that 3 o'clock. I need a soda. I need another coffee. I need whatever to get me through the rest of the day. Though that's your sign. If you're that person who absolutely cannot handle caffeine, if you just feel wired and jittery, then there's a good chance if we were to do your saliva test, you would be way off the charts. Like your cortisol would be running high and wired, right? Those people in that category, caffeine is generally not their friend. They can't handle caffeine. Even we do genetic testing as well, like a saliva test, and part of that, those who can and those who can't handle caffeine or even other drugs, it has something to do with their genetic SNPs and how they metabolize things. So everyone individually, and everyone deserves some functional testing. Functional testing is so rewarding. It helps so much for you to fill in the gaps and confirm that you're not crazy. There is something going on that was not detected at the doctor's office, that was not detected by normal investigation. Functional health is so fun because we're asking, how are you functioning? Where are the gaps? What can we support? What do we need to pull away in order for your body to find balance in a holistic, whole body approach? I do want to introduce to you a tool that I've recently come across. So here I'm going to be like, okay, this episode is sponsored by the Super Patch. The Super Patches are a really neat tool that I was introduced to, maybe 6 months ago or so, by some functional colleagues of mine. And I have been pleasantly surprised at how well this tool works. So I have a few here. This is very easy to use. Super patch is what they're called. They are for your nervous system regulation. So I myself am not, I haven't studied out like those vagal nerve stimulators. And so they just make me nervous. I'm not ready to go there. Now maybe next year I will have, but right now I don't have time to study that out. And I haven't used it myself. So this has been my choice instead. It's much less invasive, and like those vagal nerve stimulators, like I think that's kind of weird that you just have one in your pocket and you're stimulating your vagus nerve all the time. Or those pulsettos, I don't know if I trust that because there's an app like feeding that and deciding, and I just don't trust the information. Like where's this information coming from, right? I don't know that that's personalized or safe. So if you've used a pulsetto, like it, hate it, I would love to know more about it. I would love to have some anecdotal evidence. So reach out to me if you're using one. So back to these little guys. They're a patch. They don't have any specific chemicals. They don't have herbs in them. They're somewhat like a fingerprint. So they're very subtly speaking to your nervous system. This one right here is called the Liberty, and it really helped me get my heartburn under control. I've always known that my heartburn is got a lot to do with my vagus nerve and being in that fight or flight mode. So they really help my heartburn. Now, I have been kind of on again, off again with these because I haven't had the heartburn. Now, I know my nervous system still needs help. So, what I have switched to, because my next complaint is fat, is my body not giving up fat. So, I've been using this one, and it is called Ignite, and it is for to speak to my nervous system, to let go, to calm down, to let go, and let my metabolism, let my body start burning that stored fat as a fuel. So I do use this. I am using trizepatide as well and MOTS-C. So a few tools, but I'm definitely noticing my body getting leaner, giving up the fat. And I've been just started Pilates. It's so fun. Using a reformer class over in Williston. We'll talk about that more later. But I've just wanted to do that my whole life. So I'm doing
seeing clients 2 days a week in Williston, and right next door is Pilates. So I'm like, yay, I can get all this in. I'm so excited. But back to these patches. Where can you find these patches? I will put the link in the show notes. And then you can also go to my website, awakenwellnessllc.com, and then under affiliate products, and just go down that list and find Super Patch. I do keep some on hand at the store, but it's not very economical. They are definitely much more affordable if you go to Super Patch, go to my link to get that discount, and you don't have to put in a different code or anything like that, and then just do that subscription. So there's so many choices. I've also had really great feedback with this Zen, and something exciting that I do with some of these patches for some of my one-on-one intensive clients, we do their Quest bioenergetic scan, and then I scan their personal energy into these patches and send them home. So not only do they have that nervous system action happening, they have their own personal frequencies. So that's really high ticket quantum technology. So that you're gonna have to pick up the phone and you're gonna have to call me and get an appointment if that's something that you would like to experience. Um, let's see. This is getting longer than I want. I had some other sources cited for this podcast. So let's just quickly get into what the American Journal of Medicine had to say about cortisol. Um, the predictable rhythm should be, I alluded to that earlier, rising in the morning. That's what wakes you up in the morning. So, me personally, I like my curtains open. I like the sunlight to start waking me up and my cortisol to start to rise, right? And then there is your cortisol. That's called the cortisol awakening response. And then about 2 hours later, that is when your cortisol should be peaking. So of course you're going to run better as if this is on a normal sunlight routine. But everybody's on a different schedule. So not everybody has the luxury of waking up to the sun coming in their window. However that looks for you, you can still get your body into that rhythm. So 2 hours later, it's going to rise the highest, and then it's going to gradually decline throughout the rest of the day, going lowest toward bedtime. So that I just had a little citation in there, but I will put that in the show notes as well. Let's see. I talked a little bit about the tired and wired pattern. So people who are just full of nervous energy, they can't get to sleep at night. They are like backwards babies, right? Years of chronic unmanaged stress. And of course, those simple tools that everybody talks about it, everybody knows that relaxing, taking deep breaths, inhaling through your nose, holding, exhaling through your mouth is completely over talked about. It's no secret. Everybody knows, but is the most under implemented tool out there. Why don't we do it? Why don't we set an alarm on our phone every 4 hours to take a breathing break? Why don't we do it? Because it's free, because it's too convenient. I mean, really, 30 seconds to a minute could be life changing to your nervous system. Why don't you do it? Just do it. Why don't I do it? I often talk with my clients about, I call it a fake smoke break, right? Anybody who's worked with a smoker knows they need their breaks. Well, that's kind of smart. They go outside to get some fresh air. So their circulatory. So their circadian rhythm knows what time of day it is. They take some deep breaths in, just ignore the toxins, right? Just ignore the toxins, but they're taking deep breaths and they always come back in better, right? If you worked with a smoker in an office, you know, you're like, no, take a smoke break. Like you're about to drive me nuts, right? But us non-smokers, we're not smart enough to take a break. We sit in our offices under crappy lighting, confusing our circadian rhythm, shallow breathing, hunched over a keyboard, and then we wonder why we're stiff and sore and we wonder why we can't sleep at night. So that's my free advice. Go set your alarm. You deserve a break. And the non-smokers, they're hiding in the bathroom stall on their phone when they're feeling overwhelmed. You can tell when your nervous system needs that break. For a lot of us, you are picking up your phone for no reason, you know, or you're opening the refrigerator door for no reason, or you all of a sudden feel like you need food or you have the munchies. That's nervous system dysregulation, is what that is. That's the perfect time to take that breathing break. That is your nervous system telling you, I am too overstimulated right now. I need to come down a notch. So the breathing. Then we have to, same, it's just too affordable. It's too effective. So we just tend to be in rebellion of it. Me, I'm guilty. I'm still in rebellion of it, but prioritizing bedtime, right? Just like you do for your toddlers. We have got to treat ourselves like a toddler. You have got to have that time of night when your bedtime wind down is starting, whether you're getting off your screens. If you're very light sensitive, you need to get those yellow glasses if you're watching TV at night, uh, or get off your screen entirely. Get to a book, do some stretches, do your oral routine, your face washing, whatever it is, make it like an alarm and then make it a non-negotiable. It just it's so basic. It's so basic, but yet people are so rebellious of it. Most people are very inconsistent, and it's just almost impossible to get them to implement these couple little free changes, right? But your body will thank you for it. Is your body going to respond the next day to this? Maybe. Maybe it will take months. Maybe you'll never truly know how it was responding, right? But that doesn't mean it's not worth doing. I know it's a big topic, and we barely scratched the surface today. So this could easily turn into a small series. Let me know if anybody has got anything that you'd like to go deeper on in the next talk, in the next episode.
All right, that's all I've got for you today. If any of this hit close to home, I want you to remember you're not crazy. Just because your labs say normal does not mean everything is fine. And you have options. Number one, start asking better questions of the doctor you already have. If you're ready to take the first step here, check out my 5-day free fresh challenge. The link is in the show notes. Just 5 days, no overwhelm, get you back to the basics. You can do anything for 5 days. And if you found value here, please like and share and leave a 5-star review so this show can touch more people who need it. Every review helps us reach someone who is still sitting at home thinking they're crazy. You can also find me live on YouTube, Search Awaken Wellness TV. Hit that like and subscribe button so you make sure you get notified when this show goes live. I'm Tanya Candy, and this is Awaken Wellness.